everyone? My name is Quitton Tellis and welcome back to my channel. Today we're going to be talking about Jessica Chambers and how her case is still unsolved to this day. And I think it's based on two simple words that she said before passing away. So make sure you like, comment, and subscribe down below. All right, let's get into this case. So Jessica Chambers, just 4 hours before she sent the last text message to her mom, her car was reported around 8 o'clock to have caught on fire. Little did they know that she was actually laying next to the car on fire, with the last words saying Eric or Derrick. So who could have possibly done this? So this case takes place in Mississippi, in the South, and it's going to be talking about interracial relationships. And even though it's 2019, people still have a problem with interracial relationships. And with her case, it gets a little bit leery, a little bit strange, a very, very small town. So let's get into it. Jessica was born February 2nd, 1995 to Ben Allen Chambers and Lisa. And however, they separated. Jessica was still close to both her mother and father. Jessica has 7 siblings, and she was known to be full of life, very stubborn, funny, quirky. Some of her aspirations was to become a teacher, a nurse, or a book writer. In Cortland, Mississippi, she played soccer and was a cheerleader at South Panola High School. In high school, this is where Jessica begins to hang out with the not so nice crowd. She begins first dating this guy who is part of a gang. His name is Travis Sanford. When she started dating Travis, this is when she stopped becoming a cheerleader. She actually quit the cheerleading team and started smoking, drinking, not following the rules. And she also went against the traditional roles which her dad disapproved of. And when I say went against the traditional roles, especially in Mississippi, she started dating outside of her race. She was attracted to guys that were black. Her dad did not pretty much like her dating people who were not of the same race as her, allegedly. Now, at 17 years old, her brother accidentally died in a car accident. And this is when she dropped out of school. However, she did complete her GED. And then just 2 years later, in 2014, at the age of 19, Jessica Chambers' life would be tragically have ended. So on Sunday, December 7, 2014, Jessica was in her car in Mississippi, and the car was caught on fire. And she, in fact, passed away by being burned alive. There was multiple suspects in her case because no one knew who could have possibly done it. However, when the paramedics arrived to the scene, Jessica kept on saying, or they asked her a question of who done this to you? Who hurt you? Who did this to you? And the only 2 words that she was able to say was Eric, or Derrick. They're not sure quite which name she stated. So I'm gonna go through the suspects list, and then we'll get into the actual case and how it came about. So the first suspect was actually her ex-boyfriend, Byron. Doesn't sound like Derrick or Eric, but yes, Byron, her ex-boyfriend. However, he was later dropped as a suspect because he was in Iowa at the time of the crime. The next suspect was her boyfriend, then Travis Sanford. However, during this actual incident, her being passed away, he was actually in prison at the time. So no, he could not have physically done it. And no, his name is not Eric or Derrick. However, people didn't know. Did people have a vendetta against Travis? So they took it out on Jessica. Yet he was then dropped as the #1 suspect because it went clear that he did not have anything to do with her death. The next suspect was her dad, Ben Chambers. No, it doesn't sound like Eric or Derrick, but yet he was a suspect. #1, he did not like any of the guys that she was dating, but she was a teenager, so what parent would like any guy wanting to date his daughter? But they stated that he was a suspect because he was against interracial relationships. And she had a very big group of diverse friends. And he didn't like the fact that she was hanging around African American Black people. Now her dad in 2004 did spend 2 years in prison because he was addicted to drugs. And he also worked in the sheriff county office as a mechanic. Yet he also was dropped from the suspect list because there was no direct inclination that he had anything to do with the death of his own daughter, Jessica Chambers. Next suspect was Roger Lynn Hintz. Now, Jessica's father, Ben Chambers, stated that this guy had been arguing with Jessica over drugs. And so he thought that Roger had something to do with it. However, there was no evidence linking him to Jessica's crime scene. So the charges were dropped. Next suspect was George Boone Mister. No, it does not sound like Derrick or Eric at all. But he was a suspect because, like I said, Jessica did go down the wrong path in being rebellious and trying drugs. And with Boone, she had wanted some drugs from him and he would not trade crystal meth with her. So he came up as a suspect. However, again, there was no evidence linking him to the crime scene. So he was dropped from the suspect list. So then the investigation went to a complete cold case. There was no evidence because it was a fire. So all the evidence had been pretty much burned. So they had no suspects and they were starting to feel gridlock. However, the manager at the local gas station, which this town is very, very, very small. So they only have one gas station in the town. But they decided to release video clips of Jessica walking to the store. Maybe that could give an inclination or a clue about who had done this to her just moments before. When the video was released from this actual gas station, finally figured out the one person who was with Jessica right before she passed away. That was Quitton Tellis, who was 27. Mind you, Jessica was only 19 years old. He was arrested for the murder of Jessica Chambers.